town. If you don't know by now, I'm talking about Chi-Town.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Chicago. My name is Maggie Moore. Today we have a special on a new developing story about the Garden of Cats here in our very own Chicago. Many of you have probably never heard of this Garden of Cats, but today we're going to be interviewing the author of a new non-fictional book based around this special place and the characters in the story. But before we interview them, we'd like to tell you a little about the story and the elements that make it special. Italo Calvino, an Italian author, wrote this story with the theme of urbanization leads to break in tradition in today's world. He presents the conflict between characters and environment with the figures of cat versus human developments in society. In this story, a fellow by the name of Marco Valdo, who was one day taking his lunch break and saw a cat that he decided to follow. This cat led him to a well-known restaurant here in Chicago that will go unnamed, and where they see a tank full of expensive fish. Marco Valdo, deciding he wanted one, steals a fish, but before he can take it, the cat steals it from him. The cat leads him through the busy city, where they eventually end up at the Garden of Cats. Marco Valdo, in awe, observes this peculiar place where hundreds of cats roam around trying to find food and escape the neglect of the urbanizing city. Marco Valdo soon finds out that the cats go to the garden because there is no other place in the big and growing city where they belong, and they live on this property which belongs to an old miserable woman by the name of Marchesa. He goes to meet with Marchesa and finds out that the only reason she still lives on this property with the cats is because she cannot leave or sell it without the cats intervening. She wishes to sell the property to the city, but the cats refuse and always find a way to ruin her plans, so she's stuck there forever with them. Today we find out that the city is making plans to build a skyscraper on this garden, but the task is difficult, for the cats will not leave. We were fortunate enough to get an interview with Marchesa before she passed away and her property was sold to the city. Here we have Maggie Reilly with her interview with Marchesa.
Good morning, Marchesa. Thank you so much for letting us come interview with you today.
Whatever I can do to get money. What do you want to ask?
Lovely. So, Marchesa, we were wondering, what is it like to be living here by yourself and surrounded by these cats?
Miserable. It's miserable. I have no one to talk to, no money, no food, and all I am surrounded by cats. If I try to leave, they follow me. They're like parasites. It's horrible. And I want to live somewhere nice, but they won't let me leave.
I'm sorry to hear that, Marchesa. Do you find any beauty in the Garden of Cats?
I did. Meaning I used to, until these cats came and they ruined everything. They ruined my flowers, they ruined my life. They need to leave, find somewhere else to live.
What would you say if they were to build a skyscraper here in place of the garden?
That would be awesome. I'd be able to leave and I wouldn't be around these cats.
Marchesa, thank you for letting us come and interview with you today. We greatly appreciate it. We've decided to help you out a little bit for all that you've done by bringing you a month's supply of frozen fish. Thank you for everything again.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you're trying to do to make an old woman happy.
Sadly, Marchesa passed away earlier this week, and the city is planning to build on her property later this month. But the problem of the cats still there is trying to be solved. Is this right that the city should be building yet another building on this beautiful piece of land, which is the only home to these homeless cats of the city? We'll be interviewing the author of this new book and one of the characters, Marco Valdo, when we return after these messages.
Was created in 1978 and is a cat known around the world by comic readers and movie lovers alike. Connecting Garfield to the Garden of Stubborn Cats, we can come to the conclusion that the relationship between cats and humans is one of dominance. Humans have always been superior to cats, but in these two stories, the cats seem to have the one being in control of the outcomes that humans usually would decide. The personification of the cats leads the readers to believe that the characteristics the cats portray further emphasize the dominant role they have. Back to the news.
And now, tragic news regarding the infamous author Italo Calvino. We have just been informed of his death. On September 6th, he was admitted to the ancient hospital of Santa Maria della Scala in Siena. He died between the 18th and the 19th in the middle of the night of cerebral hemorrhage. Now, to honor the man's successful life, we will be airing a never-before-seen interview with Italo himself.
Hi. Hello. This is such an honor being in the presence of the most translated contemporary Italian writer. I'm in awe.
Oh, you flatter me.
Tell us a little bit about your life.
I was born October 15th, 1923, in Santiago de Las Vegas. It is near Havana, Cuba. My father's name is Mario and my mother's name is Eva.
Wait a minute. I thought you were Italian.
I am. You see, my parents were both born in Italy, and they migrated to Mexico in 1909 because of my father's job. After living through the Mexican Revolution, my dad decided to move him and his wife to Cuba to conduct scientific experiments. I was only 2 years old when we returned to Italy for good.
Oh, that makes sense now. Now, tell me a little bit more about your parents, seeing as though that they gave birth to such an amazing person like yourself.
My father was a tropical agronomist and botanist, and he also taught about agriculture and floriculture. My mother was a botanist and a university professor. Although they have the same profession, they are very different persons from one another.
Interesting. Did their differences affect your childhood at all?
It depends on what you mean by affect. My father and I could not communicate. Talking to each other was difficult. When we would walk by side in silence.
Oh my, that's horrible. Now, what about your mother?
Well, since my parents both refused to give me and my brother any religious education, we attended nursery school, a private elementary school, and the state-run Liceo Gian Domenico Cassini, where, at my parents' request, I was exempt from religious instruction.
That is quite interesting, but not to be rude, what does that have to do with your mother?
Oh, right. I seem to have gotten off of track. My bond with my mother was a lot stronger than that of my father's. My mother would do anything to make sure I had free will to believe in what I wanted to, and turn down anything I didn't want to. Along with making the school exempt me from religious classes, she managed to delay my enrollment in the fastest armed scouts.
Yes, that answers my question. Thank you. Now, tell me more about your education and schooling.
After high school, I enrolled at the University of Turin, choosing agriculture facility where my dad had previously taught in agronomy. 2 years later, I transferred to the University of Florence and studied agriculture. Yet again, funny how I did not choose a career of agriculture after those years of schooling, right? Well, it didn't matter because the same year I enrolled in the military service and went into hiding.
Oh, dear God. That wasn't smart now, was it? Did they find you?
Long story. Using the battle name of Santiago, I joined the Garibaldi Brigades, a communist group for about 20 months. I fought in the Alps, and as a result of this, my parents were held hostage by the Nazis and extended for a period of time. Ugh, was I a bad son or what?
Oh, you were such the rebel. Did you ever settle down?
I moved to Turin. It is serious but a sad city. I finally got the nerve to abandon agriculture for the arts faculty. After a year I moved, I wrote my first short story, Gone to Headquarters. That was the beginning of it all.
Okay, don't get cocky now. What did your friends have to say about this?
Well, my best friend, Cesar Pravase, said I was a squirrel of the pen that climbed into the tree for more fun than fear. To observe partisan life as the fable of the forest. I guess you could say he liked me.
Oh, Italo, you slay me. Now, tell me about the rest of your life.
I eventually became a consulting editor, as a position that allowed me to take my writing traditions to a new text reader. In the late 1950s, I think I was traveling to Moscow on a new job, and there I learned of my father's death. From then on, I began doing what came almost naturally to me, and that is following the memory of things I had loved since my boyhood. Instead of making myself write a book I ought to write, the novel that was expected of me, I conjured a book I wrote myself, and I would have liked to read. Sort of by an unknown author, free of another anger and another country, discovered in an attic.
Aw, that's great to know where all that inspiration come from. Now tell me, I've been dying to know, where did the inspiration for Garden of Cats come from?
Someone once asked me if there was an Italian equivalent to the Brother Grimm. That drove me to write the Italian fables. This encompassed the Garden of Stubborn Cats.
Interesting. Now tell me, something about your personal life.
Well, as you might know, I had an affair with an Italian actress, a married older woman. Oops. And all of my letters seemed to become published.
Did you ever settle down?
Let me finish, woman. I finally met an Argentinian translator, Esther Judith, singer, and we married in 1964 in Havana. We settled in Rome where my daughter Giovanna was born.
What a beautiful name. Well, this interview has been such a pleasure, and thank you so much for all your time.
You're welcome.
Peace.
Thank you, Maggie, for that exclusive interview. We can see that Otello worked hard to portray the conflict of the tension between the environment and the character, and tradition for those of modernization. His literary works are inspirational and will affect future works of literature. Now we go to another interview with a character from the story, Marco Baldo. Let's turn to Maggie and Marco Baldo.
Morning, Marco Baldo. How are you today?
Great, how are you? So happy to be here.
Lovely. Now tell us about yourself and how you found the Garden of Cats.
I would love to. Every day, when I'm on my 3-hour lunch break and everyone goes home to eat, I stay around the warehouse. Usually these cats appear, and I follow them around. One day, this cat appeared, and I followed him to a restaurant. There, we saw this huge tank of fish. I decided I wanted one, and I guess you could say, borrowed it. But before I could take it, the cat took it, and he started running across the city. I was chasing him until we got to this gate, and then there was this garden. I guess that's how you could say I found this magical place.
Fascinating, Marco Baldo. Do you like cats?
I wouldn't say I love them, but I do admire them for their stubbornness and sense of adventure they bring.
What are your thoughts on the diminishing of the garden to build a new skyscraper?
I guess I'm saddened by the change that's happening there, but the woman that owned the garden was quite a nut job. She stole the fish from me too, and was screeching about some story that didn't make sense. And then I remembered I had to go back to work, so I just left her there. The garden was beautiful, but I mean a skyscraper would be nice. Those cats though. Who knows about them? As long as they don't steal my fish anymore.
Interesting. Good luck with that, Marco Baldo. Thank you for coming today. We truly appreciate you taking your time to come interview with us. Have a great day.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Maggie, and all the people that had to do with this developing story. Before we leave you today, we have some short coverage of the special Garden of Cats, and we have Kathleen Lawler there right now covering the story. This just in, breaking footage of Maggie Reilly with one of the cats.
I'm here, walking to the Garden of Stubborn Cats, when I found one of the cats. Let's talk to him now. Did you hear that, everyone? Back to you, Meg.
Hi Maggie, I'm here live at the Garden of the Stubborn Cats. Here I have one of the cats with me, symbolizing the tradition that the city has. But will this beautiful place be turned into a skyscraper with the modernization of the urban city? We'll find out. Builders are planning to make a skyscraper later this month, but who knows what will happen. Back to you, Maggie.
What a beautiful place. We will have future coverage of this story and the results of the city's plan to build on the garden. Thank you for watching today, and tune in next week to Good Morning Chicago when we talk to Derrick Rose and his quest to win the NBA championships.